Facebook has been toying with artificial intelligence in its chatting features, but its robots may have gotten out of hand. According to several reports, Facebook's artificial intelligence researchers had to shut down 2 chatbots after they developed a strange English shorthand. The bots were supposed to learn how to trade virtual objects with each other, but instead began repeating words in a mysterious and nonsensical pattern. Facebook researchers say that the pattern mirrors how humans develop speech patterns, but that hasn't stopped public fear of the AI's capability. CNET section editor Dan Ackerman joins me now. Dan, how should we be reacting to this strange language, if we can even call it that?
This is one of those stories that has such a great headline, it grabs you right away. And when you look at it, it's not quite as explosive as science fiction movie-ish as it really is, but the real story is almost more interesting, where they were trying to develop these bots that would be good at negotiating with humans. And they said, what happens if we put 2 of them together? And what happens when you put 2 machines that kind of speak their own language together? They start to talk to each other, they develop their own ideas, and they come up with, like you said, this sort of shorthand that eventually becomes incomprehensible to us, but is comprehensible to them. The problem is that doesn't work for what Facebook wanted, which is being able to talk to humans, and that's really why they said this is not working out. We're going to shut this down.
Okay, they didn't shut it down because they necessarily thought that these bots were achieving some sort of singularity or some sort of independent intelligence and were creating a language, correct?
Officially, the story is no. But they did say that seriously. They did say that having the bots talk to each other and develop their own language didn't fit what they were trying to do, which is make a bot that could talk to a person in a more realistic way. It was almost moving in the opposite direction. So it was an interesting aside, but they didn't get the answer they were looking for. So they're going to try something else.
Does this say more, the headlines that this generated, does it say more about our culture and our animosity and maybe fear towards artificial intelligence, especially as it does make real advances?
Oh, that is 100% true. And there are so many great advances going on right now in artificial intelligence, in machine learning, which is a version of that. And these fears, they go back 100 years to our initial ideas about robots, self-aware machines that would eventually take jobs from people and be able to make their own decisions, and all the things that we've been worried about. They're becoming more crystalline now, but they're topics people have written about for literally 100 years now.
Yeah, machines are taking jobs. They have for a long time. But when we talk about this particular program that Facebook was experimenting, would you consider it a failure, and what does it mean for their AI development?
I mean, when you're developing, AI, there's really no such thing as a failure because you learn from everything. And what they learned was these machines would come up with their own very efficient ways of communicating with each other. And that's actually very useful if you're working on machine-to-machine communication in the future, which is something that you're definitely going to have to do. It just didn't fit in with what they were trying to do, which is basically make a bot that could maybe sell you insurance online without having to talk to a human agent.
You know, one of the things you talk about, all the recent advances in AI and the fact that that Go game was again beaten by an AI, the Go person was beaten by an AI machine. A lot of ethical issues have come up. What sort of ethical issues spring from this particular case of machine speaking to machine?
Sure, I think the big concern people have is that the AIs and machines would be talking to each other and we would not be able to understand what they were saying or figure out what their motives were, if you could even call it that. But definitely that case you mentioned where Google built this AlphaGo robot that could beat the world's best Go player, which is an ancient game, one of the most complicated board games ever, that pushed people right to the forefront of saying, now we have to really start worrying about this because there's almost no task out there that a machine now can't do better than a human in terms of mental computation.
Yeah. About this case at Facebook and this idea that perhaps these robots were somehow developing an independent language, is that overblown given the evidence? And how much of that is a result of this spat that you have between Tesla founder Elon Musk, who seems to be more cautious with AI, and Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, who is very optimistic about the future of artificial intelligence?
It shows you there's a real range of opinions out there, even among very smart people. Elon Musk has always been on the forefront of warning people about the dangers of out-of-control AI. Stephen Hawking is someone else who does that. While Mark Zuckerberg, who's frankly more in the AI business, as Facebook is developing a lot of chatbots and similar devices, has a more optimistic view. Recently, they got in a little bit of a social media feud on a Facebook Live thing. Mark Zuckerberg said that people who are spreading fear and disinformation about AI are doing everyone a disservice. And Elon Musk hopped on Twitter at 3 o'clock in the morning. And you know what happens when you tweet at 3 o'clock in the morning? You don't always come off as your best self. He said that he talked to Mark, and he was very unknowledgeable about that particular topic.
Facebook is using a lot of AI, as you say. Dan Ackerman, thank you.
Thank you.